Hey guys, welcome back to Brandon Does Barbecue. Today we're doing pork butt. So pork butt, it's got a few names. Pork butt, obviously. Pork shoulder, Boston butt. So maybe you're wondering, is it a shoulder? Is it a butt? Well, if you've been losing sleep over this, I'm here to alleviate that. It comes from the shoulder, upper portion. If you're still kind of dipping your toes in the world of smoking meat and you want to actually attempt a long cook, I would suggest starting out with pork butt, not a brisket. Reason being, it's pretty easy, it's hard to mess up, and in the off chance you do screw it up, it's a cheap cut of meat, you ain't gonna kick yourself over it. I think this was like 10 bucks. This is a 9-pound piece of meat, so if you do mess it up, you're not out a whole lot of money like you would be with a brisket. Now I know after watching this video, you're gonna be super pumped. You're gonna wanna go out, buy a pork butt, get to cooking, but before you do that, we need to talk about what you need to look for. Don't just go out there and just, oh, it says pork butt, buy it. Make sure you get a bone-in pork butt. The reason being, in my opinion, is one, the shoulder bone that's inside of there kind of acts as like a, I don't know, a thermometer. Once it pulls loose, you know it's done. I'll show you that later in the video, obviously. The other reason is, if you get a bone out pork butt, it's all kind of like pulled apart, and you know, the butcher has to go in there, pull the bone out. I like it all being intact. I feel like it makes for a better cook. I feel like it turns out better. Just my opinion, so that's what I'm telling you. With most cuts of meat, there's always some trimming involved. Pork butt, I mean, there's a decent fat cap on here. You could trim a little bit off, but you're just gonna, most of it's gonna render. You're just gonna pull it apart, mix it all in there. So honestly, you can get away without trimming at all. And I think that's what we're gonna do today. You've probably seen people take the knife and they'll score the fat cap on top, do like a little checkered pattern. Some people think that it makes the rub go in better. It might. I've done it both ways. Today we're not gonna do that. Like, if you do the checkered pattern, it looks cool presentation wise, say if you got a group of people. But a lot of times I like to keep the fat cap whole, because when it gets to a certain temperature, the fat cap's gonna split, and that's my cue to go ahead and wrap it. All right, so today for the binder, we're just gonna use some French's mustard. I feel like mustard, when it comes to pork butt, helps develop a good crust for the bark. So that's what we're doing today. Alright, so let's talk seasoning. Killer Hogs hot barbecue rub. It's a favorite in this house. It's got a good sweet element, it's got a good heat element. Telling you, this stuff is good. Load it up. Now that's a nice looking butt. Today we're going to cook this on the offset. We're smoking with hickory today, because that's what I have. You want to get your temps around 270, 275 degrees, which is roughly what I have the smoker at, so let's get it on. So when you put your pork butt on, make sure you have a water pan. You want to make sure you keep that cook chamber nice and moist. You don't want a dry pork butt. Make sure you put it on there with the fat cap up, because remember, we're going to wait for that fat cap to split. When it splits, that's our signal to go ahead and wrap it. And also, for this, I do not use a thermometer like constantly to keep an eye on the internal temperature, because for this, we're just looking for feel. So we're going to let it go for a while, and then we'll start poking it, and once it starts probing like butter, we'll know it's done. All right guys, we're about 4 hours into the cook. We've got some inclement weather approaching, so thus the awning. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna check it, we're gonna spritz it with some apple cider vinegar, and then we're gonna close it back up. You see we got a little bit of a crust forming. It's pretty moist, so if you see any dry spots like right here around the edges, you can just go ahead and give that a spritz. I would check on it after the first 2 hours. I'd probably check on it every 45 minutes and just hit it with the apple cider vinegar. And I say that's good for now. So we'll close it back up. We'll come back and say about an hour or so. Alright guys, it's been about 6.5 hours, so we're gonna see what we got. Hopefully the fat cap's starting to split, then we can go ahead and wrap it. Alright, as you can see, the fat cap's starting to split right there, so that's our sign to go ahead and get it wrapped. Now that our fat cap's split, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it. I got 2 layers of foil right here. Get your apple cider vinegar. Go ahead and hit it with that. Get your pork butt. Set it right there. And then just to have an idea of where we're at, we'll go ahead and see what the internal temperature is, see how it feels. There's a little bit of resistance. It's right around 166. Alright, before I wrap it up, let's give it one more hit. Alrighty. Alright, get it back on the smoker. Alright, so our pork butt's done, kind of. Now we need to let it rest. I like to let it rest for at least an hour if you can. But just to give you an idea of how to tell when it's done, I'm going to probe it, I'll show you the temperature, and I'll show you what you're looking for. So what you're looking for is very little resistance. It should almost feel like warm melted butter, and as you can see, it goes right in. So the pork butt's around 208 degrees. It's probing like butter. So now we're going to let it rest. We're going to let all those delicious juices reabsorb in the meat. And then in about an hour, we'll see what we got. This episode of Brandon Does Barbecue is filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Here, here.
It's a big crowd. Alright, so our pork butt's been sitting for about an hour. We can't take it any longer, so we're gonna open it up, see what we got. It's like Christmas all over again. Now typically, I would get an aluminum foil pan. That way you put it in there, you shred it up, all the juice stay in there, but today we don't have one, so our loss, I guess. All right. So, a good sign that it's done is when the bone slides right out. So let's see. Feels good. There we go. Clean bone. That means you got a good pork butt going. All right, so you can get those little bear claws things. You could use your bare hands. I would recommend it when it's hot. Or you can use some tongs. So, pull it apart. Make sure you get all that bark mixed in there, because you would like a little bit in every bite. Time to taste. Always pick a piece that has a lot of bark. So we're gonna go with this piece right there. Nice bark, good meat. Oh man. This is worth the 10 hours or 12 hours, however long to cook. A little bit of sweet, a little bit of heat. Good smoke flavor. All those fats just blended right in with the meat. Lots of flavor. Make yourself a good sandwich with this. That's it for me. Alright guys, you got to see how I do a pork butt. It turned out delicious. You gotta try that Killer Hogs hot rub. It definitely gave it that perfect heat, that perfect sweet, and that's a great combination. So if you guys like what you saw, please like, subscribe, and all that jazz. I'll see you next time.